Yes, hello again. Um, I just wanted to jot down a few of my thoughts that I had written today uh, about the type of mentalities I have personally witnessed doing these kinds of things towards Indigenous identity and basically reinforcing this whole narrative that like institutions without the people who are there to use them are what's necessary, if you will. But um, let's see. Yes, the first factor I want to bring into is saying that I've seen this personally. They say they've cultured you into something separate from what you would have known, quote unquote, as a form of control over you. So they'll try to say that your culture only amounts to a certain action way back when. Uh, Crossing boundaries, they prove they don't care about even for themselves. Uh, like they'll just assert themselves, saying that they're never wrong, and argue that strengths and physicality, like the strongest survive mentality, determine your wealth. Uh, make people believe in something that looks good, only to do things without your consent that detriment you and or others, with a message specifically against what you'd be addressing being an actual issue. So that it's legitimately rigged to fail at that point. Uh, have a convenient excuse to say everything that was accumulated, like wealth, are justified, even if it was at the expense of others, and are completely dismissive of any evidence, like having physical uh, remains or anything presented to them. They will dismiss it and say it's unjustified for them to even be near it, even though they would have been the person perpetuating those kinds of actions, like theme parks on burial grounds. You know how cheeky. Believes only in establishing anything helpful to others at minimal expense to themselves. You know, they're always like cheap. They want something that if they know they can control and it has influence, it goes far. Um, Wants a heavy influence, therefore fabricated lies, uh, for polluting for polluting material possessions and industrial like waste, essentially, like everything that they say only is ever in support to, oh yeah, I'd like to serve the people only if I can get this raw material or metal that I can make whatever I want with, and that's none of your concern as at that point. That's the only time they'll ever help someone who's even actually in need. um they laugh and like, not, you know, it's like not like constructive criticism. It's more just like they almost shun and how you say, uh well, dehumanize a lot of times people who make mistakes and who are less fortunate with their immediate survival circumstances, uh and instead of providing constructive criticism and or solutions to help someone who could be dying on the street. um has humor dependent upon actions that harm others? That's a big one, like torture. They think torturing someone and having them, like, you know, be at their wit end is funny. Um, let's see, physical violence. You know, I don't want to go as far as saying, you know, the Stooges were wrong or anything, but they have this ability to think that harming you and then you reacting from your heart, you know, your physical pain at that point is a means of pleasure, and they appropriate language that demeans, dehumanizes, and demoralizes people without knowing how it was even used, like what its actual context pertains to, like peasant. Because in reality, a lot of times the people I've heard specifically, they consider themselves white and they use that language, and they don't realize that oftentimes it was other white people who were peasants. So confuses your strengths as targets to others to get rid of you. Now, this is an important one. No matter what it is you come at them with, whatever it is, because corporate espionage is legal in this country, they'll know how to approach you in a way where it looks like nothing was ever even there, like you didn't even stand a chance. Essentially, it's sabotage, a lot of it. Um, Personally, I've experienced that. I have to say the legal work, the legal wording for the missing and murdered Indigenous Women's Task Force, the thing that Donald Trump had approved himself, even looks eerily suspicious to my nonprofit paperwork. And when asked about it, it's even on my channel. They don't know. They don't know how to like prevent that stuff. They're not even educated really upon like what the real message of it is, besides just getting their hands on evidence that even at Donald Trump's age could look very suspicious with. But these are all key factors, and it can go on and on. But these are like specific things I've seen. Besides, making references to people's culture specifically. If people can even say that, if their humor depends on harming people and scrutinizing people just because they fell on the floor and fucking hurt themselves and shit. Like, I'm sorry for the language even, but for me this is just some simple shit. These people, all they have are guns. You take their guns away, they're just shit talkers. That's all they are. That's why at where I am with everything right now, I personally take a pleasure in knowing how to get rid of these fucks. Because they do a lot of shit to me while no one's around. I can only imagine they do it to others as well, People who don't even have that initiative to know that there is anything different besides what it is they say they can control. It's a very mean and vicious way of living, but if you're running from the law, it makes more sense that you would live that way. So I find a lot of different things with the things I'm learning. Furthermore, how to be a better person, how to even help people be better people, because there are things that you set yourself up for failure for. Like the one thing I think is the one go-to for a lot of the shit I've seen is the fact that people think being a bully at any given point in time is like a good thing. But in reality, it sets you up for something later on, an expectation, even in the eyes of those that you, appeal to at that point in time. It influences them to where when you're kicked down and you're low, you're considered weak or inferior. So it's a terrible way of looking at it. Like, I know a lot of these white people, they try to get off with their Viking obsessions and their Nordic obsessions with shit, but when they go back to where they really come from, it's a completely different way of looking at things. It's like a whole different history with it. But do these people know? No, because their ancestors were too busy even oppressing their own people. They were enslaving their own people. If you were a peasant, you were pretty much good at a certain point just to fucking feed your chickens or to move your cows and shit. That's how they thought of people who were even white back in those days. Can you believe that? If you're a white listener listening at this point in time, to know that white people made slaves out of white people, is that too hard of a concept to understand, or is it something you at that point ignore in your understanding? Like, do you say you don't understand that and then go off and say that people who are white understand these things and get people going in one direction because that's the only way you live? Because you're like a parasite that can be cut out. It's funny. In fact, it's too fucking funny. Because we're the contradictions to all those bullshit theories that you sell to people overseas and shit. We're the contradiction. See, that there would be a point where I would probably agree with you. Like, oh, yeah, maybe because we're on the reservations, maybe because we've been subjected to 300 years of fucking nonsense just because it was whoever anyway, fucking that maybe we had at one point lost who we were because we had to forcibly assimilate into your society. But the thing is, now this is the thing. I could understand it at a certain degree, but not at the expense of knowing that I am different from you, because that's where you have your shit crossed. Maybe someone touched you inappropriately when you were a child, or maybe someone had did something to you that made you feel that way. But as of right now, those are actions you'll be held accountable for, as those very things that look like that. And if you're telling me things like science or the things like the understandings of the mind don't even matter, where are you with it? You're at, oh, yeah, no, fucking, as far as I'm concerned, where you fuckers are, you're at, oh, well, if it has a penis, it's a male. If it has a vagina, it's a female. And you fuckers don't even take in the factor that there is shit that proves that you people are completely fucking nuts. Even when you stand there saying you know it all. But when you're contradicted with it, you're dismissive. So please, and, you know, at everyone's expense, apparently, cut your shit, because something out there will find you. That's what I'm finding out what happened to me, by the way. You think I gotta give a shit about you? Oh, no. Fuck no. But the thing is, if something gets to you, it'll get to me, motherfucker. That's where you have me in a place, motherfucker. And just remember, at that point, I don't want to be fighting your fucking war for you, motherfucker. Learn how to stick up for yourself. Learn how to involve shit that don't need to be there. Right? No, you're fucking nuts. You're a nut. You don't approach us in a respectful way. You don't even approach us in those ways. You don't even call us by what we are as people. And you expect us to do your shit for you. As if there's even something there the whole entire time that says you were like that. Bullshit. For a long time, I wanted to be a cop. But you know what? When I found out how it really was, a cop is no different than a pimp. A pimp! Someone who's supposed to protect your building for the prostitutes on the inside. Not saying I don't believe in it. It's just the fact is, holy shit, if I'm not an American Indian at any point right now, motherfucker, where the fuck are you, motherfucker? You want to flicker lights and shit, you know? And act like you can sing too, you dumb bitch.